Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel, and if you're new here, hello, welcome. My name is Charlotte. In today's video I'm going to be doing part 2 of my university essays as books. I did a part 1 which I'll be linking in the description below for you to go check out, but now we're moving on to part 2 of 2, so this is the last one. Because obviously I wrote so many essays at university, I decided to just do 2 videos rather than cramming in more into one video and having like 20 essays and books to talk about. In this one is the more recent essays, so the better essays I kind of feel, and the essays that I remember most. But that doesn't mean it was easy for me to pick books for this video. I still found it quite hard. I'm very excited to do this, but I also feel like I'm a little bit nervous because I feel like I put this together. I'm sorry if some of my thoughts aren't coherent. Also, this video is kind of going up in good time because you're going to be seeing this on the 12th, and on the 8th I was meant to graduate. But obviously I didn't because Corona been pushed back to November, so kind of like good times. It's like my own little celebration, but not anywhere near what it should have been. I'll stop rambling and I'll jump straight into this video. So the first essay I'm going to be talking about in this video was for my film genre horror module. So basically it was just a module about horror films, and it was a lot of fun. I really did enjoy this module because I love horror. So the first essay that I wrote for this was about gender identity within the villain, within the monster of these horror films, and I focused, or the essay question mainly focused on Halloween. The creme de la creme of horror films. It's like the OG slash film, OG Scream Queen film. So I had to write about like gender identity kind of in comparison with Laurie and Michael. I'm obviously not going to explain these essays in this thing because why would I really want to revisit them? But I'm going to recommend a book that I haven't read because I haven't actually read any books I feel like go along with this essay. But I'm going to be recommending Final Girls. Is it Final Girls or Final Girl? Either Final Girl or Final Girls by Riley Sager. I've been meaning to read a Riley Sager book for forever, ever since they started getting hype on the booktube. I know obviously Riley Sager writes a lot of like thrillers, but this one is specifically about, I think, like these girls that maybe all go missing and then one doesn't, and then she kind of comes back and it's all like, oh my gosh, she was the final girl. That's what I kind of, the only thing I feel like I know about it. But I feel like with a lot of thrillers I like not going in knowing much, so I feel like this is the only one I can actually recommend that I could think of the top of my head, because obviously the title is Final Girls and I wrote an essay about a film that's about the final girl. So this is how the video is going to go. I'm going to say this book and I'm not going to have an explanation. It's going to kind of be a either self-explanatory one. These videos are never planned, they're a mess, I know. So I haven't read it, so I can't really give you much on it, apart from I feel like this goes quite hand in hand because I wrote about Halloween, which is an OG final girl film, and this is a book called Final Girls. Let me know if you've read it. Maybe you could tell me what it is about, or can maybe explain it a bit better than me. I don't know. So the second essay was my second essay for this module, and in this one I wrote about the monstrous feminine, and I had so much fun writing this essay. If you don't know what the monstrous feminine is, it's basically quite a self-explanatory. It's when like the female character, like main character, she might be the villain, she might not be, but she's kind of depicted in a monstrous way. It's deep. There are many books out there for you to go read about them, like non-fiction books, like studies into it. This essay was kind of a comparative essay, not really. I wrote about 2 films in this essay, and I wrote about Carrie, the 1970s one. And Audition, which was like late 90s. That film, Audition, it's really good, but it's messed up. It's a Japanese film. If you want a gory female villain who is so great but so messed up, give Audition a watch. Trigger warning for like gore and body harm. So for this one, I could have obviously gone for Carrie, but that would have been basically cheating, and I could have gone for Audition because Audition is originally a book. But instead I thought I'd go with a book that I actually picked up and had to read for one of my modules in 3rd year. It took me a while to come up with one for this essay, and I'm surprised I didn't think of this one straight away, and that is Let the Right One In by John. I can never pronounce the name. I, again, had to read this for a module that I will obviously go into depth or talk about in a bit later. I loved this book. It made me realise how much I love horror and how like adult thrillers and horrors are like my jam. I love them. It's a Swedish book and it's set obviously in Sweden. It's about this 12-year-old boy who gets bullied a lot at school, and his home life is like, it's not the best, but he's surviving, he's doing his best. He's cute, he's adorable, and then one day out like his window he sees this girl playing in the playground outside his house, so he goes and befriends her, and it's about how maybe she's a bit, you know, maybe not normal, and she's a bit like supernaturally, and I'm not going to kind of go into more depth because I feel like you need to read it and you need to experience it. This kind of goes into the whole gender, monstrous feminine, maybe not feminine, and obviously gender is a very important and very reoccurring thing, if that's a phrase, in horrors. If you don't know horror that well, it is a very used trope like gender and gender identity and confused gender identity and sexuality. Now moving on to third year, my final year. The first module I'm going to be talking about is one that I had to write one essay for, so I thought I'd get out of the way, and that was a module called Beyond Cinema. So it's kind of, as the title says, going beyond cinema and looking at the experience of watching stuff and the experience of cinema. But the essay that I had to write for this one, I wrote about film tourism and film-induced tourism, and basically the idea that people go to places and travel and go to destinations because of what films and TV shows give them. We all want to go to places that our favourite films and TV shows have been filmed at. I want to go to Lawrence, Kansas just because of Supernatural. I want to go to Chicago just because of Shameless. So for this one I decided to go for a book that I want to go to. I want to go to this place. It is a magical fictional world, but I still want to go to it, and that is Narnia. I've wanted to go to Narnia since this film came out, since I experienced Narnia for the first time. I love Narnia with my whole heart, would die to go there, like honestly, take my soul. Call up a Crossroad Demon, I'll give you my soul just so I can live in Narnia and meet Prince Caspian and meet the Pevensies. Crossroad Demon, let's go. Can you tell I've been watching a lot of Supernatural recently? But I want to go to Narnia. I want to experience Narnia, I want to meet Prince Caspian, I want to marry Prince Caspian, I want to live my life as King Caspian's queen. That's all I want in life. Preferably him looking like Ben Barnes, but God, I can rant on for ages. Narnia is just such a magical, amazing place, and even though we all know this is like based off of Christianity and I'm not like religious at all, I don't care, I just want to go to Narnia. I'm going to take my best friend, Alice, if you're watching this, I will take you with me as her being religious. I don't know, she might enjoy it, but also we both love Narnia and she wants to meet Aslan. I feel like because I haven't mentioned Narnia and Ben Barnes in a video for a while, I feel like this was my time to. So I'm sorry if you're new to this channel, hello, welcome, I'm a Ben Barnes stan. But now moving on to the module that I said that I would come back to or talk about in a bit, which is my adaptation module. It was like film and TV or TV and film adaptation. Basically talking about adaptations, because I saw this when I was picking my modules. I was like, yes, I read, I love adaptations, or I'm always striving for better adaptations, so let's do this module. Alongside having to watch films and TV shows for this module, we also had to read books, which I was like, great, I'm a booktuber, let's do it. So the first essay that I had to write for this module was saying how some adaptations, or how adaptations have powers. As I said, I'm not going to explain these essays because I could honestly have to like spend half an hour on each essay explaining what the hell I'm talking about. I wrote about how The Haunting of Hill House, obviously the book to the film to the TV show, how they all have like special powers and how they're all good in their own sense. And you're probably thinking I'm going to say like, oh, I can't use The Haunting of Hill House because that'd be cheating, but I'm using The Haunting of Hill House. I couldn't really think of anything else to do for this one, and also I just want to promote this book. I am not a classics person. I don't really read books before 2000 because I just don't vibe with writing styles. This book got me shook. I was actually spooked at one point, and I don't get scared in books, but this book was so good and I highly recommend it. Obviously, if you don't know what The Haunting of Hill House is about, the book is about this doctor who wants to do this experiment on this house, this house called Hill House, who he believes is haunted. So he gets 3 people to come and stay in this house to kind of do some science and see if, you know, the house is haunted and how the house has an effect on these people. The 1960s film is basically the same plot as that, but the TV show, which is Chef Kiss, better than the book, still love the book, better than the book. Mike Flanagan, the director and the writer, has adapted and brought this book into more, or brought the book and into the TV show as more. He's created a family drama. Some of the characters from the book and plus more characters are family, and this is their family home, and it's about their experience and then from children to adults and how this house has affected them throughout their life. And I don't want to say anything more because if you haven't, first of all, if you haven't heard of this TV show, where have you been? Also, if you haven't seen it, I don't want to spoil it. When you've like read the book and you know the book and you like know more about the history of this book and this story, the TV show is just so much better because you see what Mike Flanagan's done. When the second season for the show comes out, which is a kind of anthology, doing like an anthology thing, so he's adapting another kind of horror book for the second season, I definitely want to watch the TV show first, then read the book, then go back and watch the TV show, because that's how I did it for this, and it's how I became to like love and appreciate both the book and the TV show a whole hell of a lot. This book is just fantastic, very, very creepy, and so is the TV show. Film, I don't really care about, even though I had to write an essay, but I don't really care about. But the book and TV show, chef kiss. The second essay that I had to write for this module was about transmedia storytelling, and transmedia storytelling is basically telling a story or having a world, a fictional world, across different mediums, so across books, TV shows, the internet, games. I'm gonna say it and y'all can judge me, y'all can unsubscribe, but basically I wrote this essay about the Wizarding World, which kind of awkward now. Obviously now I don't regret writing the essay because I put my blood, sweat and tears into the essay, but I do look back on it and go, oh, well, that's not good. And this is me saying, like, obviously if I had to go back and write the essay I would not do it on that. So I thought for the recommendation or whatever for this essay I'd do a world that I feel like deserves more love, and even though we all love it, more love and more hype and more recognition, and should be better than hers. And I've just picked one of the books, the first book that I could grab off of this kind of world, of this conglomeration, I don't know. And that is basically Rick Riordan's Percy Jackson, Heroes of Olympus, all the mythology books, because even though they might not all be connected, and even though they're not technically in the same world, but they kind of are, it is just such a fantastic produce and product he's made. He started off with writing the Percy Jackson books for his son, for his kids, and then they became like a sensation with other kids, and then he kept building on that. What is so great about him and trumps this person is that he wrote these for kids, and he's kept doing that. He's not doing it for the money. Like, yeah, okay, it's bringing him in the money, like, good for him, but he's doing it because he knows it helps kids and it's a great escape for kids, and it helped his kids, so he wants to help other kids. And if he was just doing it for the money, I doubt he'd create his own imprint business where he'd allow other authors to get their voices for their own mythology to be seen. We stan Rick Riordan. We stan Uncle Rick. This is me saying that I don't claim that essay anymore, and even though I put my blood, sweat and tears into it, and I was actually quite excited to write about it, we stand Uncle Rick over She Who Must Not Be Named. I don't need to say much else apart from stream the Percy Jackson TV show when it comes out on Disney+. Thank you! Now moving on to my second term, so my, like, basically my final term at university, and moving on to the last 4 essays that I ever wrote for university. I did a module about New York and the movies because I love New York. I've been there twice and I want to go back, and I miss New York so much. The first essay that I wrote for this module was about comparing, in this one particular film that I'll say in a second, kind of separation, the comparison between the city and the suburbs. And for this one I had to write about Desperately Seeking Susan, which I didn't really know about or even heard about before I did this module, and I watched it. It was on our first week we watched it, and I love it.
She's a woman of mystery. You can date, you can date, you can date. A woman of surprises.
What are you doing here?
A woman named Susan.
Come on.
Orion Pictures presents Desperately Seeking Susan.
Susan! Susan! Susan!
My God, we all thought you were dead. No, just in New Jersey.
It is 80s, it is Madonna. Love interest in this, he has my heart. So I wanted to do a book that gave justice to the love of my life, Des, but I just feel like there's no man out there in books or at the moment, or like who kind of compare or who are like Des. So I decided to go for a book that like are both kind of contemporary period books, because you know they're not set now, but they're like as they were made and kind of written, they're made to be quite contemporary. They kind of both centre around music, or the book centres on music more, and also it's got style, these books, and this film has got style. So I decided to go with Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid. One of the reasons why I thought this book was because Daisy Jones, our main character in this book, and Susan, who technically isn't the main character in the film, but she's kind of like second main character, they're both very similar. They're both very confident, they know who they are, they've got style, they've got all the boys looking at them. It's Madonna and Daisy Jones, basically. I just thought those two characters like just go along so well. So if you love Daisy Jones, please hit up Desperately Seeking Susan. It's so good. It's cheesy 80s, but with flair, with girl power, girl friendship. The main character, Roberta, she does try and make herself physically over, but at the end, low-key spoilers, not really, but in the end, it's not the looks that transforms her. Messages, deep messages. But I love both this book and this film. And the second essay that I had to write for this module was one of the last essays I had to write for university, and I had to write it while in lockdown, and I had to basically teach myself all of it, because if you're from the UK and you go to university, you know that last term we had a lot of strikes, or we had strikes. So for the second half of this term, I had none of this module because strikes and then coronavirus. So I had to base myself everything to do with this essay. I got a 68, so I'm very proud of that. But for this one, I wrote about the subway and the kind of representation of the subway and the subway's position and its place in various New York films. So in that essay, I wrote about Joker and The Amazing Spider-Man and what was the other one, The Warriors. A very big collection of films, and I feel like he criticised me for more focusing on Joker, but I'm like, mate, you didn't teach me anything, so cut me some slack. But for this one, I just really struggled because I was like, I don't know any books that are based around the subway. So I decided to go for a book that, when I thought of the feel of the subway and I thought of the feel of this essay, I thought of this book. And when I think of the subway, you know, I think of underground, grotty, not very clean, and very mysterious and dark. So I went for this Savage Song by V.E.Schwab. I read this quite like a few years ago, and I really did enjoy this duology. When I think of this book and I think of the world it's set in and the vibe of this, I kind of feel that kind of underground, dark, mysterious, kind of a little bit grotty feel like the subway gives me. This book is set in a world about monsters, and our main characters are Kate, who wants to kill monsters, and then August, who is a monster. So not only is it the feel of both the book and the subway, but also how I wrote this essay was about the identity and finding your identity on the subway, which sounds like a reach, but I did it. I wrote about it. And this book does deal with, especially with August, his identity and him being like, I'm a monster, but I don't want to be and I don't feel like I am. And I feel like those themes also come across in a couple of films that I wrote about, especially like The Joker and kind of Amazing Spider-Man, I feel. Again, this one I was grabbing at thin straws, but I feel like I got a decent recommendation slash comparison slash whatever you want to call it. I haven't talked about this duology on my channel for so long, but I do enjoy it and I really did like it, and I do need to read more of V.E.Schwab stuff. I just haven't got around to it yet. Now we're moving on to my final module, and the module I think, especially across this last year, I enjoyed a lot, and it was my favourite because the lecturer is a sweetheart. I would die for him. He's great. I love him. We all love him. Like, I talk about to my friends on my course like how much we love him. This was a TV module. Again, I love TV. As you might know, I'm hoping to work in TV. Let's not go into that. If you know from my previous video, I did do a TV module, but that was like a very basics TV module. This one was more complex, and it was a very, very fun module. Even it might have been stressful and like complex a lot of the time. It was really, really good and I enjoyed it, and I found one of my new favourite shows of all time from it, so I can't knock it too much. The first essay that we had to write was kind of an essay, kind of not. It's called a netnography, what we had to do, and I could go into ages about trying to explain what the netnography is, but we basically had to collect fan comments from like Reddit or Twitter. I use Reddit, and then doing an analysis on what those comments show about the quality of the TV show. I decided to go for a TV show that I knew that not a lot of people watch, and when I was telling people what TV show I was doing, they were like, oh, I've never heard of that, what the hell is that show? Which angers me because I hopefully have faith in some of you that you've seen this TV show. So I collected comments and wrote an essay on Pose.
God may have blessed you with Barbies, a backyard with a pony in it, a boyfriend named Jake, and an unwanted pregnancy that your father paid to terminate so you could go to college and major in being a basic bitch. None of these things make you a woman.
Clear your throat.
Lubricate.
Now read that bitch.
Your uniform of ill-fitting J. Crew culottes, fake pearls, and 50-cent crunchies cannot conceal the fact that you do not know who you are. I know our presence threatens you. We fought for our place at this table, and that has made us stronger than you will ever be. Now pick your jaw up off the floor and go back to your clam chowder and shallow conversations. My girlfriends and I aren't going anywhere.
It was lovely talking to you.
Y'all heard that?
Please tell me there are people out there who also love and watch Pose, because it is my everything. I love that TV show so goddamn much. And why do people not watch it? If you don't know what Pose is, it is set in the 1980s to 1990s. It follows the ballroom scene in New York. I could rant for ages about how much I love this TV show. It has got the largest cast of trans actresses and characters and actors within this show. You've got Billy Porter being amazing and going out and being the first black gay man to win a Emmy for his role. If you're in the UK, both seasons are on iPlayer. I think definitely season 1's on Netflix, and if you're from the US, both seasons are on Netflix. So I decided to go for books that were written and centre around trans and queer people of colour. So the books I decided to just pull up, Felix Ever After, which I've talked about before on my channel and I need to read. I'm like desperate, but I've looked to find it, to buy it, and it's just nowhere because it's sold out on Amazon and other places just aren't selling it. Pet, which I've heard really great things about. It's not just about a trans person of colour, but it's also just got a mystical, magical element to it as well, which, yes please. You Should See Me in a Crown, which is another book that I really, really need to read. It is about a black queer girl who is kind of finding herself and falling in love. Also All Boys Aren't Blue, which is a non-fiction, definitely, and it is about the author's experience being a queer boy growing up. I feel like those books are a bit of a mix because we have non-fiction, we have ones that just centre around kind of coming of age sort of style, and also ones that are kind of got more like mystical, fantasy, magical elements to it as well. So not only should you go, and I should as well, go and read those books, but please go and watch Pose. It honestly angered me that even my lecturer didn't know Pose. The last essay that I wrote, I was like, not stressed, but I was like, I just want to get this essay written because, you know, it's my last essay, or I kind of wrote this alongside writing my Subway essay. In a sense, it feels like my last essay. Out of all of them, especially recently, it was one of my favourites to write. We had to pick a TV show that we studied on the course and write a case study about it and how it is quality TV and how it shows artistic affordances and how those artistic affordances support and kind of helped, or I can't really remember, but something to do with a career path that you want to go down. So I decided to write mine about Dark, about the German Netflix TV show Dark. Narrative complexity and binge watching and rewatching are within that show and how it makes it strong and how screenwriters use that, and kind of hard for me to actually like process and say what I'm wanting to say and how to explain it because I wrote this essay like 2 months ago. Come on, it's gone up my head. I wanted to do Dark because I knew that I could write easily about narrative complexity with Dark. I am basically copping out on this one, and I'm not going to be recommending a book because basically this is my time to say that y'all need to go watch Dark. It's over, all 3 seasons are out and there's no more seasons, so you have like you don't have an excuse. Go and watch it.
nur die Vergangenheit beeinflusst die Zukunft, sondern auch die Zukunft die Vergangenheit. Tick, tack, tick.
And if you give me the excuse of, oh, I'm not German and I don't like watching TV shows with subtitles or whatever with subtitles, leave, get out, you're the problem, get out. You're just like Trump with Parasite, get out. Dark is just amazing. The last season came out, as I'm filming this, a week ago, 2 weeks ago for you, and I watched it in 2 days and got to the end, and the ending, the last episode, was one of the greatest endings I've ever seen. It was perfect, it was wrapped up beautifully. You know when you want a TV show to be wrapped up beautifully and it never does? Dark did. But I also just sat there and cried because the ending also like just made, it got me emotional. It is set in the small town of Winden in Germany. Yeah, at the beginning of the show, this boy's gone missing. Typical, like, kid's gone missing, we gotta investigate it, you know, police stuff. And that's what I thought the show was gonna be about. But then at the end of the first episode, another kid goes missing, and it takes you on a journey that you don't see coming. You go from like, oh, Broadchurch-esque Nordic noir police investigation show. I could obviously explain and go into the show and talk about the show a lot, so I can get you to watch it more, but I feel like I would just ruin it. So please, for the love of God, go and watch Dark. Also, if you want some strong female characters, hit Dark up. There is not one female character. Okay, there are some annoying female characters who make bad decisions, but also there are loads of male characters who do the same. But there are just so many female characters, like the star of the show. The star, once you get to the end of the whole show, you realise that the star of the show is this amazing, intellectually smart as heck female character. Like, I don't want to spoil it. Sorry you're not getting a book for this one. I wrote an essay about Dark, and I love Dark, so I'm going to be recommending Dark. If you want to message me or I just want to know more about this show, and you don't mind some spoilers, obviously I don't want to give out general spoilers, so if you want to know more and you actually are interested, either comment in the description below or message me on Twitter. I'm here to talk about this show. So that is it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. It got very rambly, very heated. I was kind of, when I came into it, being like, oh, I've got to film a video. I kind of got into it and I got very excited and very happy to like talk about loads of stuff like Pose and Dark. Go watch it. If you haven't seen the first part, go and watch it. It's linked in the description below. Let me know in the comments below if you have read any of these books, or if you feel like you have a better recommendation or something for these essays, even though you didn't write them and you're probably like, I don't know what you're talking about in terms of these essays, Charlotte. Or if you've watched Dark or Pose, please talk to me. If you're new around here, do not forget to subscribe, turn my notification bell on so you know when I'm next going to post, like the video, and with that all said and done, go watch Dark, go watch Pose, go and do everything that I said in this video. I can't be bothered to list them all off, and I'll see you all in my next video.